My next speaker is a guest from out of town. Americans for Tax Reforming is an organization founded by Grover Norquist, and he has spent his entire life attempting to limit the amount of tax increases that the government imposes upon you. He was not able to be here today. He just had a new baby. We congratulate him. He has sent in his stead a wonderful young man named Kelly Cobb, who serves as state affairs managers for tax reform. Americans for Tax Reform opposes all tax increases as a matter of principle and advocates for a system in which taxes are simpler, flatter, more transparent, and lower than they are today. As state affairs manager, Mr. Cobb handles telecommunication, alcohol, tobacco, digital taxation and transportation policy, as well as state coalition building, which is why he is here in Kentucky today. He also coordinates ATR's 39 taxpayer protection caucuses in 30 states, consisting of taxpayer protection pledge signers. With that, I will say that he is a graduate of the University of Michigan with a degree in political science and philosophy, and he currently resides in Washington, D.C. Will you please join me in welcoming Kelly Cobb from ATR?
Thank you, everyone. I might be from Washington, D.C., and I might have had to take my tie off today because that's what we sleep in Washington, D.C. But I spend more time traveling around this country and talking to people in coalitions in the center-right movement, people who don't want government to interfere with their lives, more than I spend in Washington, D.C. And I'm proud to take your message and everybody else's message from around this country back to the politicians there to tell them that they are wrong and they're doing the wrong things and they're hurting this country. There are two fundamental directions in this country today. Two coalitions, two groups, two movements, and no, they're not political parties. There is one coalition that fights for liberty and limited government, and there's one coalition that wants the government to control your life. In our coalition, we at ATR, we like to call it the Leave Us Alone Coalition. All we want is for government to leave us alone. We're made up of taxpayers who are sick of the government stealing our money. We're made up of homeschoolers who want to school our own kids, and we don't want the government to tax us anymore to school somebody else's kids. We're made up of Second Amendment voters who want to keep their guns. They want to hunt, they want to collect guns, they want to play with them on the firing range, whatever they want to do with them. We're made up of a broad coalition of people. A broad coalition of people who want to practice their faith and impart that faith onto their children, and they don't want the government interfering with that process. That is the Leave Us Alone Coalition. The other team out there is called the Takings Coalition, because what they want is they want to take something from someone and give it to someone else, namely themselves. Boo is right. This group is made up of, my favorite part of this group is the coercive utopians. These are the people who have an ideal vision for the world, and they want to impart that vision and make you responsible for it. It's the Al Gores of the world. It's the people who have never ridden a motorcycle but want to make sure you're wearing a helmet. It's the people who want to ban the most delicious foods from your favorite restaurants. Those are the nanny staters in this country. Hang on, we got a big list. I want to go through. I want to make sure I get all. This is the trial lawyers. These are the biggest donors to the Democratic Party. They also want to make sure they can sue you if you're serving coffee in your home and it's just too hot. These are the labor unions that want to steal money out of people's paychecks, to organize more labor unions to steal more money out of people's paychecks and then kick checks to the Democratic Party after that. These are, as my boss Grover says, the two wings of the dependency movement. Those that are locked into welfare, dependency, and those that get paid $100,000 a year to manage the dependency of others to make sure that they don't get jobs and become Republicans or Libertarians or Independents. These are the two coalitions in this country today. Ours is a great coalition because it's a low-maintenance coalition. comes to the table not because they all necessarily agree. There are people who might own guns or want to run their business but don't necessarily have faith. There are people who have faith and love their guns, but they don't own a business. They all come to the table not because they want something from someone else, but because they want to be left alone by government. And that allows us to work with one another. We've started in Washington back in the early 90s to defeat Hillary Care. My boss Grover started a small meeting with a few groups, taxpayer groups, social conservative groups, and so on, to work to oppose Hillary Care. And he called it the Leave Us Alone Coalition. And he started that meeting and he grew it. And he grew it and he grew it. Today, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock in Washington, D.C., 150 to 200 activists, not just people like you, but people who do this every day for a living, they fight for liberty for a living, show up to this event. They are the tip of the iceberg. They are the tip of the iceberg in this country. And we have since started meetings, over 50 meetings in 46 states, starting just a few years ago, to help mobilize center-right activists, Leave Us Alone activists in this country like yourselves around these issues. Because they're not getting attention in D.C., and they're not even getting attention by your legislators here in Kentucky.